at the last Friday of every month. And we are very, very happy and thrilled to present today and to review SAP Business One latest version 10.0. I really want to start by thanking everybody who helped us do that in a very short time, to our support team, Deb and Hannah, and to other people who participated, including SAP expert Moti and Edith, who helped us put it together. What I'm really thrilled about is with 10.0, today we're going to see the main features that are available for Business One clients. And as always, we're going to see a live demo, not presentations. So we can show you how to set up different things and how things are looking and things of that nature. Beth?
Wonderful. So thanks so much for the introduction, Oren. You guys have probably seen me on the previous webinars, so I'm glad to see that you are coming back and still dealing with me for this one. We're really, really excited to show you version 10.0, and we have lots of new features that have come out. So we're really excited to show you and kind of get started.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me on 10.0 patch level 2 is that SAP made the service layer available for SQL clients as well. What it means that SQL clients is now going to be able to join the new Fiori style applications, and will be able to join to use the new web clients, as well as other mobile apps and different applications and add-ons that are built based on the Fiori style. So this is very exciting, and what we're going to focus today is on the features that are available across all clients of SAP Business One. So regardless of the, if you use HANA or SQL, everything we show here today is out of the box available to any client that upgrades to that version. And with that being said, the objective of today is to look into those features of 10.0, and we thought maybe to start with a quick video to show you what we're gonna look at today.
And Oren, it looks like maybe the screen is paused. Could you check that?
Yeah, thank you, Beth.
Yeah, no problem. There we go. Perfect.
All right.
So you guys
And
learned
with that,
everything, right?
with that being said, we can get started. So I just logged into my new SAP. If I click on the Help About, you could see that the version here is 10.0, and we're using the latest patch released about a month ago, patch level 2. What I want to start with is really the web client that, as I said, is now available to all the SAP clients. The web client is available to any user of SAP without any additional fee. It means that SAP user can use the traditional user interface, like what we're seeing now, or they can use the web interface, either or to use them in parallel. So if I'm within SAP Business One, I can launch it from my web client here, or I can launch it using this. So let me kind of close my web browser and start from scratch. So as I click here on the web browser, it's gonna take me to my login, where I can, I already have my server. I can choose my company and enter my credentials. In this case, it's manager. By the way, in order to, as you upgrade to 10.0, you don't have to use the web client. It's a separate installation that makes that available. As you see, it's completely different concept, completely new design, simplifies a lot of the things. This, let's start with some kind of general navigation. First, it is available for browsers, but also for tablets users and mobile. So as I resize the screen, you will see that, different tiles are adaptive and adjusting accordingly. So it is available also potentially for users with smaller screen devices and things of that nature. Right now, on a very high level, SAP made available the main processes of sales and purchasing. So on the sales side, everything related from sales quotation through sales order, delivery, and invoice, and same thing on the purchasing side, so purchase order all the way through AP invoice, and also some master data like business partner master data, items visibility, activities, and things of that nature. Let's see how the screen looks like before we drill down into the different functionality. So on the right side, you could see here, it shows me that I have one alert over here. So as I look over that, that's really my notification. And I can look by date, by priority, and things of that nature, and really get notification right on the screen over here. On the left side, I have my kind of main menu that, by the way, I probably don't need to use it when everything is going to be here because, as I look at my sales menu, very similar structure to what you are able to see now. Sales quotations, sales orders, items, create items, and things of that nature. Same thing on the purchasing, on the business partner, and useful links. And this is, by the way, the web client of SQL. The only difference between the web client of SQL and HANA is that you will have an additional tab of analytics, but as we show later, that version, even for SQL, provide a lot of analytics embedded into that. So that's very, very exciting. In addition to that, you have here your kind of user setup. So you could, the user potentially see their recent activities and drill down into them, frequently used, items and things of that nature. App Finder, different settings to kind of enable what the appearance is going to be, how your homepage is going to look like, and things of that nature. And the last thing on the user here is the ability to edit the homepage, which we're gonna look at later, kind of to move things around, to decide, what sections you're gonna have and what's gonna be in each sections and things of that nature. But you don't necessarily have to use the edit because it's very native just to, for example, if you wanna move, I don't know, create an item from your sales section to your home section, you just basically drag and drop different tiles and items into the appropriate spot. So far, so good?
Beautiful.
All right, excellent.
Sorry, like always, if you do have any questions throughout this, please feel free to add them to the chat. I'll be keeping an eye there, and we'll ask them as we go. We will have time at the end, but feel free to pop them in the chat as well.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And as you can see, we have different tiles, like this is create sales order, this is purchase order, this is, sales order. Again, I can move it to different spots and things of that nature. But as I click on that, I will get into my open sales orders, okay? And I see basically all my sales order, not all, because you can see the filter here is set to open. And we have many different views, all sales order, my sales order, sales order, back order, and things of that nature. And you can create as many views as you wish and manage them as well. So right now I see all my open sales orders, and I could either hide the header or present it. And from here, I can do different filters. For example, let's say I want to see all my open sales orders that are really, related only to customer 23900. So I can do here equal 23900 and clicking on the go, and that will present us only that client.
And we did have a quick question in the chat. So they tried to do the installation and they're getting an error, and they asked if there are specific configurations that need to be done before the installation. So the answer to that is yes. We have lots and lots of documentation, but there are specific hardware requirements that you need, and other specific things. So the answer to that is yes, and we will be including that in our blog write-up as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing, you could always decide what's going to be the filtration here. Okay, so if I click on adapt filters, that will show me different items that I want to filter by. So this is really strong. For example, if I want the document total to be part of my filters, if I want to see, status of canceled or not to be part of that, if it printed, a lot of things that could be part of my filtration. So as I add my, document total, for example, now I have that, and I can say, show me only documents that are greater than, for example, $10,000, and that will refresh the list to show only those items that are over $10,000. You could do a lot of things from here. You could select multiple, sales orders, for example, and decide to close them or to cancel them or to do bulk operation. You could even copy multiple sales order to an invoice, assuming they are from with each client. If I try to do that here with 3 different clients, it will try to do that, but it will give me a message that not all the documents are from the same business partner, so it will stop that. But for example, if I wish to cancel, multiple ones, and I can use my shift, I can use different things, and I can just click close. Ask me if I want to continue. So that will close 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 different document selected here in the list. And once it's done, it will tell me all those documents have been successfully closed, and now it refreshed the list with the opens, and now I don't see them. The other thing is that kind of view of my sales order is fully adjustable. Not just that, you could go to your form settings or view settings here and decide, I want to see it canceled, or I want to see what's approved, or I want to see different dimensions, including UDFs that are available here, including even some line visibility. So in this case, maybe let's say the document, you can bring them up if you wish. You could have the create date and bring it further up. Really flexible for the user experience. If I want to drill down into the sales order, I can always click on any of those fields or the arrow here at the end, and that will open the sales order basically. So I can look at the sales order. As you can see, it's very similar to what we've seen in traditional user interface. So content, logistics, accounting, but everything is in one screen. You see the header at the top with some information. You could hide it, you can make it visible, you could pin it, so as you scroll down to other users as well. And if I ever want to change my settings, I can go to manage. Of course, the pre-built-in cannot be changed, but I can change, the names and the defaults and things of that nature right over here. The other thing I can do, and I think it's really strong, and let me just cancel my grouping here and go back to the normal view, is the chart view. The chart view really enhance you to look at your data that is filtered the way you want it to be filtered, and then decide what's going to be shown. So if I want to do different graphs, of course, different data elements will be relevant. But for example, let's say I want to see the document total. Let's say I want to see the gross profit. That's good enough. And let's say that I want to see that by client, basically. So let's see client name, maybe. And that shows me that graph. I can zoom in, zoom out. I could, you know, look at the legend or no. As I hover over each one of those, it will show me the data. If I want to see multiple data element, I can mark that and use the control to mark different data elements. The details will show me here 6, so I can click on that and I can see, you know, details of those data elements. More than that, I can now share this view and save it as a tile in my dashboard. So I can save it as a tile and say, you know, open orders over 10K graph. And, you know, I can have it in my different sections. I'm going to save it in my home group for right now. So as I go to my little click here will take me back to my home page. So now I see the open order over 10K. If I just click on that, I go to my, you know, normal view, the way I define that. So a lot of flexibility and analytics that are available from a user perspective. So no need to learn SQL to do those quick queries.
Beautiful. And I just want to take a moment. We do have a couple questions in the chat that have been coming in. So if we just take a moment to look at some of those. So Ashish asked about some kind of more technical integration solution questions. So in that case, Ashish, this will be included with our documentation, some of the more technical information about the SDK and that kind of stuff. So we will include that. Francisco asked,
Okay.
Francisco asked about the web client. So they had installed PL1 and noticed that the web client looked pretty similar to the regular SAP client and asked if this skin is just available in PL2. I don't know the particulars of that. I believe it's available all across the board, but we can show you here where you can look and change that skin. So if we go up to sorry about that. Let me.
Sorry, I'll cancel out of
Okay.
that.
There we go.
Beth, take control. Yep.
No problem. So if you go over here to where your kind of user information is and head into settings and then down to appearance, this is where you can check and it should have, you know, all of these different themes available there. So go ahead and check that, Francisco, and you may find this view. Lauren had asked if you need an SAP license to access the web client. You will need an SAP login. So when you're on that main screen, you know, you'll have to have a valid SAP login and license to be able to log in here. And then someone else asked, this is updated. This is version 10 PL2. And then Mark asked, assume general authorizations will still control who can see GP details and other sensitive data. So
Correct.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thanks for all the great questions, everybody.
Yeah, really great questions. The other thing that we wanted to look here is as we view, you know, different sales orders, you know, we could edit them. So the way to edit a document will be, you know, first as you log into the document, it will show you the document itself, but then there is a button edit on the top screen that enable you to kind of start editing. So I can click on edit. I can enter different stuff, different items or different notes, and update. As I update that, 1081, it's real time. So if I go to my sales order 1081, it's real time updated, you know, in both systems. So I can see now the notes that were down. Also printing wise, if I do want to print that, I can present that sales order and it will take the different layout from SAP. I can also copy to an invoice or a delivery from here. Preview will open a new window with a preview, but I can still work on the sales order and do other stuff on that. So I can go into my, you know, copy to, review new activities and things of that nature. In this case, I'm gonna continue to copy to a sales order. It's a Canadian client, so you could see how even the foreign client works. So, it asks you to enter a rate for today in order to proceed. So it really flows all the other rules of SAP Business One. Going back, by the way, to the invoice. I can look at the invoice. I can change any details available, relevant to the invoice. Also here, the form settings or the view settings available to select which columns are going to be available. And if we're sure everything is okay, you can add and view or add and add new and things of that nature. So add and view will add that invoice to the system and will present that invoice more. Unless if I have, cost centers definitions and things of that nature. The last thing that we may want to present here, if I go back to my home screen, is, and this is not a full training on the web client. It's probably going to take probably a separate session just to talk about the web client, and we do have other, items in the agenda. But the last thing is the configuration. So if, again, I go to my menu here, edit the home page will really help you. Let me do that again. Edit the home page will get you into the editing, so you can potentially get rid of the tile you just created. Maybe draft is not relevant, and again move things around, and even add new groups to your and sort those groups within your window. And I think on a nutshell, that's basically it, and that's what we wanted to present today is related to web client. Anything else, Beth, or any questions?
No, I think that was great. Thanks so much for sharing the web client, Oren. So any questions, any remaining questions, feel free to add to the chat. I did see that there was a question about crystal reports. So I would highly recommend, if you have questions that are not related to, this new version, go ahead and check out our YouTube page, and we have done webinars then as well that would cover that.
Excellent. So what we're going to do next is we're going to move into the traditional user interface, and we'll present all the other enhancements introduced in 10.0. And we don't cover 100% of the functionality, but we cover the main features, and we broke it down into different sections. We're going to start with some administration. We'll move into financials enhancement, then operation enhancements, and master data and your reports. So with that being said, I'll let Beth start with the administration portion.
Beautiful. So I am going to cover a few of the enhancements that SAP has made in version 10.0 that are not just necessarily in the administration module, but that can be really useful for the administrators themselves. So first of all, we're going to dive into approvals. This is, if you've seen any other webinars, you may know I love the approvals. And so I wanted to start off on a fun note. So first of all, as you might know, if you're on version 9.3, SAP really extended the approval functionality with these two features. I'm not going to dive into those, but we do have the 9.3 webinar to check out if you wanted more documentation there on exactly what those do. But in 10.0, they really, really extended the usability of the approval process with this third option down here. So what this allows you to do is allows the authorizer of an approval to actually make updates to the document if it's in pending status. So what that means basically, before 10.0, if you had, for example, an approval that was going through, it had too big of a discount, and your approver needed to, they said, I'm not going to approve this, the discount's much too large, let's change it. What would have happened is they would have needed to go back to their, written a note in there, said, okay, I'm denying this approval, and it would have gone back to the document originator. They would have had to make the update and, kind of go through that whole rigmarole. So what SAP 10.0 has done has allowed you to have this option to update a document draft if it's in the pending status, if you're the approver. So they can, instead of going back and forth like that, they're able to make that update themselves and add the document. And so we'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. So, oh, there we go. So in this case, I have another user here that's added a document, and Jason Butler is the approver. So they get this, message just like normal. But now you'll see in here, okay, approval needed. We can actually go into the document draft. And let's say that 10%, that's just too much, but we're willing to settle at 7%. This is actually, one of the next features I was going to get into, but we do have now an option to either add a new or add in view. So we'll say, as the approver, I'm able to make that change on the fly and add the document just like that. And then as we go back to our request for document generation,
in Business One will be available also on the web client.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Oren. So beyond that, the next big feature that I wanted to show you guys that's added on the administration end is allowing for multiple triggers for the formatted search. So if we look here on a sales order, previously we just had, as if you're familiar with formatted searches, you just kind of have one trigger. So when you update one field, it updates another, and your formatted search works like that. In this case, we're allowed to have multiple triggers. So I think a really great example of this, in here you can see we have this kind of calculated total field. And now we've created a formatted search that's going to dynamically update this field as we're updating other fields. So you can create things like a running total or, things like that. And you can see now there's this option for multiple fields to be kind of the trigger for that formatted search. Moving on from there, the last big update that they did, you may have seen it in the intro video, but the Office 365 integration is now available for 10.0. And essentially what this does is just allows you to be able to automate the upload of documents to OneDrive. And so you can, any of the documents on the marketing document side, sales orders, invoices, AP invoices, purchase orders, things like that are all able to be updated and automatically uploaded to OneDrive. Beyond that, I wanted to go into some kind of more minor or quality of life updates that they've made on the administration side in 10.0. So one of these, if we go into our license administration, oops, down here, if we go into our license administration, they've now added a user name here, so we don't just have the user code. We also have enhancements for the live collaboration tool. So for any of you that are using live collaboration, it is now encrypted, and there is a conversations cleanup tool that's available. We have, oh, sorry, Oren.
No, we had a question from Sherry about approval procedure. Once an approve makes an update, does the document go into approved status?
So it depends. In this case, what I did was just add the document as the approver. So in that case, it actually is approved and added to the system. So we can check.
But you can make also an update and approve it, so the originator will be able to add the document to your question, Sherry.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. So a couple other little things here you can see at the top, more clearly see which database you're in. And if you're doing any testing or you're finding that you switch databases a lot between your production and sandbox, it's a really easy one-click method to be able to switch your databases there. We also have, this is a small but powerful tool. It's an option to show and hide your toolbar, and seems minor, but it does give you actually a lot more space here on your main screen, and you don't have to look at things you don't need to look at the time, which is really nice. Beyond that, we have extended UDF support to more objects. So you can now add UDFs on alerts, for instance, on the actual alert setup table. You can add them in attachments. So if you see here in your attachments, generally we just had this free text, but you can actually add UDFs there. And there's about 20 more items that you can now put UDFs on to kind of increase your customization. And those will be included in our write-up after this as well. Same thing goes for the ability to resize menus. So they've added that in 10.0. We can now resize, for instance, just as an example, this company details menu. Before it was small. Now we actually have the ability to kind of maximize and resize the menu as needed. And again, there's about 10 to 15 more tables that's applicable for, and those will be on our write-up as well. So with that being said, we'll look at
Beth, one question from Terry asking about messaging added to SAP. I think, Terry, messaging was added to SAP in 9.3, and that's the live collaboration. I'm not sure if we enabled that here, but the live collaboration enabled you kind of to chat between different users and share different documents. What they added in 10.0 is the ability to delete those sessions and control the history. Hope it helps. And we have another question from Christina. How is a user notified on an incoming message in the live collaboration tool?
So I believe there's a small, generally when you have an incoming message, kind of a small red dot that shows up there. It isn't the most in your face notification, but it should be just a small dot that pops up there.
Okay, excellent. So we're gonna go into some financials enhancements. The one biggest thing I would take from here is the drill down in financial reports. So balance sheet, trial balance, and P&L. So if I go into our financial reports, and I will run, for example, P&L from the beginning of the year, for the whole 2020. As I run the P&L, you will see now that they added those magic links that were available, and we are very excited about that because it's something we talked with SAP about, and we're happy they added that to the product. So basically, as you click on that, that will take you to the appropriate GL account. One tip that I would like to share, in many cases, as you run financial reports, you really want to drill down into what that balance made of. So if we look at 6494, we really want to see what is it made of. So one thing that I would recommend, if you drill down into that and you run the report from beginning of the year until the end of the year, if you go to your balance here and made the same selection criteria, it will save that. So you do that one time. So as you look at the details of the 6494, it's really a summary of all those transactions. So this is really handy to drill down and to really explore your balances in different financial reports. Another thing that is just nice to have is when creating new financial reports, there is now, if we go to the posting period window, a couple of things. One, it's resize, and you could, make it large and things of that nature. You can filter, you can sort now. There is a search. So if I look for 2020, I can go to my period automatically. So just easier when you have multiple years. There is also a new checkbox called create new periods with due dates in the next. So if you always need to have your due date at the end of February or January, things of that nature, when you create a new period, it will do that automatically. So you don't need to remember to do that at the end of the year. So if I try now to add, 2021 period, for example, you will see that the due date 2 is automatically going to be end of February. Another thing that we may want to touch related to financials is the reference documents. I'm not sure if everybody are aware, but let's look into that. So under the accounting of almost every document, there is reference document. And I can always decide to edit and to move it elsewhere if I wish. But what that reference document allow you to do is to connect that AR invoice to another document. Some other examples could be, you maybe have a production order with a third party and you want to link it with your purchase order that is associated with that. So a reference document is really handy in those situations. Couple of things that they did here, if I go to the reference document, one, they added more transactions like inventory transfer requests, good receipts, good issue, checks for payments, stuff like that. And they made it modular, so it's easy to find your documents. So for example, if I want to connect that AR to another AP invoice, I can go to the AP, I can select the AP document, and I can have any remarks. In addition, I can do any other documents, right? So as I update, the nice thing is that now I see if I have a reference document without the need to drill down into that. So I can see I have one. The other thing is that you could also add, external document. So if your, vendor told you, I have a reference of 1874 and it's related to today's dates and is contract date, you could have kind of additional documents kind of related, and you can see here the reference document shows too. And the last thing I would like to mention around this reference document, that is available also in reoccurring posting. So as you have reoccurring posting, the reference document is now available and will apply to all the reoccurring posting generated from that feature. A couple of other small enhancements. If we look at, some things related to groups, so customer group that was limited to 20 characters is now 100 characters, as well as the item group now just bring more space to enter, more details. And the last thing is the in journal entries. So this one was always 254, but from some reason in the journal entry, that remark limits you to only 100 characters. Now it has 254 characters, so it brings more options to add more remarks. Last but not least, the due date. Before 10.0, as you partially closed AR invoice, for example, if you have partial payment, you couldn't change the due date to reflect the due date of the additional payment. So now if an AR invoice, even if it's partially paid, you could still change the due date to reflect what will be the due date of the remaining amount. Beth, any questions?
I don't see any other questions on the chat. Sherry did send a note about the ellipses, so that's a good little tip outside of SAP. But other than that, no questions. But group, feel free to send any more as we go.
All right, excellent. So we are going into now a greater topic of the operation, and we have quite a few things to show you here. So Beth, go ahead.
Thanks so much. So we're going to get into all of the enhancements that were made that are really going to make the lives of our operations team a lot easier. So first of all, I won't dive into this, but we did see in the web client and in SAP, this add button is optimized. So we have add in new, add in view, and add in close functionality. Like I said, that is web client and SAP UI based. We do also have this wonderful, I think this is, a really helpful feature here on basically any of your marketing documents now. Previously, using an invoice for an example, if you had to make any updates after the invoice was added, you really were only able to update the remarks field and customer ref number and maybe a couple other fields here and there. But what SAP 10.0 has done has allowed in the document settings, and the search is a little bit faster. So In the document settings, they have allowed you to now decide per document if you'd like to be able to update user-defined fields in the document rows. So right now you can see on my invoice, I do have that checked. I want to be able to update UDFs on the document rows, but say for a delivery, for example, I don't want to add that functionality. And so, for here, these are a couple UDFs, and we're able to update these, even though that invoice, generally before we weren't able to. The one thing I did test out, you're not able to update them via DTW. So this is something that if you want to update these, you'll have to update them actually through the UI.
Yeah, but I would imagine that we'll add that to the DTW and to the UIDI down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing they added for sales quotations is the ability to set a default expiration date or valid until date. So, let's say, for example, for your company, you decide that we want all of our sales quotations to be valid for 6 months. You can determine that in the settings and set it up so it always defaults to that. And we'll just go ahead and close that. So that kind of leads right into our next enhancement, which is this open items list enhancement. So first of all, what they've done here is added a bunch of new fields in our form settings. So we'll go over, let's just say, we'll look at some sales orders. So they've added lots of new fields in our form settings here, and this really is going to give us better visibility into into sorting and filtering and things like that on this open items list report. So we now have sales employees, remarks, maybe who it's been approved by or created by. And most importantly, we have UDFs here. So this is just an example one, but any of the UDFs you have, you can add to this open items list now, and then be able to sort and filter based on, all of these additional fields. Beyond that, they've added these checkboxes here, and this allows you to, for sales quotations, sales orders, purchase requests, purchase quotations, and purchase orders, you can now really easily batch close or cancel those documents, and in real time removes them, and then they've either been canceled or closed at that point. So we can go over to document printing, really similar.
But thank you, Beth. Let's our last two topics to talk about are the master data and some new reports available. So let's start with the master data here. One of the things that I know will definitely help Terry is the block updating address ID. So if we look at the business partner, and the address ID up until now is adjustable, but now there is an option to block that address ID. So the link between the the document and the business partner will always be saved, and if you need to add new address, you could always add, but that will maintain a strong link between the document and SAP. And the menu to do that, it's actually a settings under the general settings menu. If you go under the BP, there is now an option to allow updating address ID. So if I check that, you will see that immediately my business partner is enabled, and I can change my address ID, or not to allow it, and then it will be grayed out. And while we're here on the general settings, some other things that you may want to look at: new definition under the inventory that allow you to drill down into the BOM or into the item master data. So for example, as you have a bill of material, always when you drill down, it will go to the bill of material, but that option allow you to drill down into the directly into the item master data. So if you're in a sales order and I have here maybe an item that is the BOM, drilling down after checking that will take me directly to the item master data, although this one already have bill of material. The other great things to look at is unit of measure. So in 9.2, SAP introduced unit of measure group, which is really robust. But the caveat for that is once you start using, you cannot change an item unit of measure group. So SAP added the ability to change the unit of measure for an item. It has a couple of restrictions to make sure the system logic maintains. One of the things is that you need, if you have a new unit of measure group, you will have to have at least the current setup definition or set of conversion of the original one. But the great thing they also added is the ability to activate and inactivate unit of measure. So it keeps the logic of previous transaction, but allow you to make modification for future unit growth of measures. The last thing, no, last one before the last is to update the lines. I know in many documents when you present them, you may have, you know, if they have just one line of address and not the second, you may have a, you know, an empty line. So now in the address format, they added an option to decide how to handle that. Traditionally, we have done that through different tricks and code in a crystal report and things of that nature, but now there is just a simple checkbox for the relevant address format. In this case, it's USA, to hide address format lines. So if I try to do a new transaction without parameter technology, now that it's checked, you will see that, you know, it's kind of remove that empty line from the address. Last but not least, if we talk about master data and we talk about BP and item master data, in many cases, you want to provide a user full authorization to business partners, but maybe not full authorization to different tabs, maybe the accounting or the payment tabs or the payment terms, you may want to restrict that. So now if we go into the authorization area and we look at one of the users under the, and now that I can make it actually full screen, I can go into the business partners. I'll just do it like that. And business partner master data, we will see that now there is a tab authorization, and it's available in both business partners as well as item master data. And that allows you to give full authorization, read only, or no authorization at all, so they cannot change, for example, MRP the details and things of that nature. And with that being said, Beth, maybe you want to wrap up with a couple of minutes the new reporting available?
Yes, absolutely. So I know we just have a couple minutes left here, so I wanted to end on some beautiful new reports that have been added in 10.0 that have been asked for and delivered now. So first of all, these two, the forward and reverse batches and serials report, I'll just go into one. They're the same report, just in a different view, per se. So here, this is going to be really helpful. Let's say, and I know any of you working with batches have probably faced this before, but maybe you have a customer that says, hey, there's something wrong with this batch. I need to return it. Now what you can do, probably better from the reverse batch serial report or batch report, but what you can do is run a report for this batch and see where it has either come in for purchase or production, where it has entered your inventory, and then see exactly which customers it has gone to, things like that. Probably need to make it active in the form settings here, but you are able to see, you know, your end customers here, and it'll help you really quickly and easily trace down where that batch came in and where that batch went, and the same thing for serials. This one, the other report that came in that I'm really excited about is this FIFO layers report. So for all of our customers that are using FIFO costing method, we do have this FIFO report now, which is going to enable you to see all of your inventory layers, all of your FIFO layers by item. So in this case, we just have one FIFO item in this demo system. And you can see here, I've actually pulled in, I purchased 1,000 of units of this item at a cost of 400. It's giving me my current open value, cumulative open value, etc. And as we start to sell out of these, you'll see that it's going down layer by layer. So it also serves as a good audit to make sure that FIFO is pulling your layers as expected, and can really be a great decision-making tool. Maybe if you're seeing, hey, I have a lot of really old stuff, maybe let's discount the price and get it out of there. And it can help you make decisions like that. So really great little report there.
Excellent. Thank you, Beth. And we really want to share a lot of documentation that is available. So let's just review what we've looked at today and look at the documentation available. So we looked at the web client, of course. Just a second, my mouse doesn't work again. All right, there we go. We looked at the web client, and we looked at administration, different functions. We looked at different financial enhancement. I would really take from here the drill down that I'm excited of. Different things about the operation and different enhancement here that Beth went through. Master data next week. The other thing is YouTube. This all is going to be available on our YouTube channel, but SAP really did a really good job on gathering 10.0 information on YouTube, so you don't have to have your S user in order to log in. So everything is available in that playlist that we're going to make available on the SAP Business One channel. Of course, we have our tips and tricks LinkedIn page where we post different tips, tricks, and things of that nature. And one important thing, if you are on a version that is not 9.3 and previous to 9.3, you may want to go through our blogs on 9.3 and 9.2 to see the enhancements you're going to have as related to, for example, if you're on 9.1, you may want to go through our webinar on 9.2, 9.3, as well as 10.0 to see what is available. And of course, Google. Just type SAP Business One 10.0 in the functionality you're looking for, and that will get you where you need to get. So this is what we went through. I want to thank my partner in crime, Beth, for joining me here and helping tremendously make that happen. And to everybody else for joining today. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or may want to explore other things. And we thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Oren, and thanks everybody for being here. We had a lot of great questions in the chat. If you do have any more questions, feel free to reach out to Oren or myself. Our emails are down here right at the bottom. And I know we covered a lot today, but I really appreciate you guys sticking through it. And again, I'm excited to get everybody moved on to 10.0 and be able to experience it yourself.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend and a safe and healthy weekend, and hope to see you next month webinar. Bye.
Beautiful. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, a question. Can we share the recorded? Absolutely. It will be shared next